Hey, this is Mark, and I am here in Florida and going to be streaming hopefully a successful data recovery on this water damaged S6 Edge. So I'm going to take just a minute and see if I can get the chat up here. All right. Pop out the chat. Oh, look, Lewis is here. All right. Okay, just taking a minute to get things organized on my screen. Okay, so yeah, Jess is not here. It's just Mark today. It's the Mark Show. I am not currently in New York. I'm at home in Florida, and thought, maybe this will make an interesting stream. So I've got this S6 Edge, came in for data recovery, liquid damaged, and it has been worked over by somebody else before me. A big hint on that is the fact that the bracket around here that holds the EMI shield covers has been removed. So I don't remove that bracket, I just take the covers off because they just pop off. In the times that I do have to remove the bracket, I pry it off without using heat. And the reason that I pry it off without heat is because those normally those brackets are really thin. They're just around the edges. So it takes a lot of heat to get them off. And what ends up happening is stuff like this, where you have clear signs that things on the other side of the board have been heated up, particularly around the CPU and the UFS memory here. Don't like to see that. But it is what it is. This is how the board ended up in front of me, so this is what I have to work with. A couple of things I noticed right away. This little guy, no clue what he is or what he does, but he's out of whack there. So is this guy. So I'll straighten those guys up, and then I'm just looking for anything else that seems out of place, or something that seems liquid damage, so I kind of know where to focus. The corrosion's been cleaned off this board already, so I'm just looking for things like this, black ends of caps and stuff. Here's a resistor. This is the power button here. So bridging this is how you power on the phone. So hopefully that resistor is okay there, because I know he is necessary. Not a lot of liquid damage to speak of. Here I've got a wire soldered onto the positive battery terminal, because one of the first things I do is check and see what it does on DC power supply. So just looking over the board some more. Looks kind of a little bit shitty over here. We got ugly looking cap here, but nothing too bad so far. These guys don't look great. Maybe there's a little corrosion under that chip. So one option I have is to just go ahead and do chip off, where I would remove the UFS chip and just read the data directly. So that, unless the chip itself is damaged, that pretty much always works. So I could just go that route, but I kind of like to get these working, because there's always a chance that maybe they need the Authenticator app to get back into their Coinbase account or something like that. So if I can return a working device, that's what I would prefer to do. So that we've done the visual inspection. I guess before I do anything, I'll go ahead and straighten these guys up, and just check the chat real quick, see what I'm missing. Oh God, there's so much more going on in the chat. I'm totally not going to be able to keep up with that, guys. Like when I stream on my channel, I have maybe 6 people watching, and I can barely keep up with that. So hopefully Lewis is going to hang out for the remainder and just keep an eye on chat for me, because I'll try to keep up, but it's not going to happen. Lewis is saying, is this even fixable? Superheated stuff next to large BGA chips. Yeah, so maybe it's not. I don't know. This might end up being a chip off. So, you know, if that's the case, I'll continue streaming while I remove the chip, but from there it's kind of just boring, you know, hooking it up to the laptop, and not really something I want to sit here and stream for the next hour. So, even as bad as it looks, data recovery is still possible on an S6 or S6 Edge. Anything from the S6 year. The Note 5 would also be recoverable no matter how bad the damage is, as long as the chip that holds the memory is not itself damaged. Alright, so I've straightened up the two guys that were really screwed up. So I'm going to just do a quick diode mode measurement on battery positive terminal, see what I get. So I've got 0.486, which is a little bit low. Normal for these boards is about 0.525, but not low enough that I'm going to start knocking shit off the board. So I'll go ahead and hook up DC power supply, and let's see what it says after I prompt to boot. So got my ground connected there, got positive connected to the wire, and we will prompt to boot, and I'm sitting at about 40 milliamps, which, if this were an iPhone, would tell me that there's some kind of a data line problem, or, you know, possibly and you know, even in this case, maybe the CPU being overheated, that's the problem. Really, really low current consumption is, in iPhones at least, normally a sign of CPU's not doing its job, whether that be because there's some data line that's down, or the CPU itself is, you know, screwed up somehow. But in these Samsungs, the way that battery main connects into VCC main, or in the Samsung they just call it VDD, the way it connects is a little bit different than it is in the iPhones. So a short on VDD or VCC main of Samsung will present as a very low current draw after prompt to boot when injecting through the battery terminal. So I know just from experience that this right here is a place that I can tap into VCC main. So you can like pull up ZXW and just kind of click around. The way I figured it out was just clicking around on some of these big caps, because I know a lot of the big coils, because a lot of the boost circuits will tap directly into VCC main for the 4 volts in order to boost. So in ZXW, I'll just click around on some of these bigger guys, these guys over here, and find something that goes to a lot of pins in the PMIC and a lot of other chips around the board, and then I know I've found it. And then I just find somewhere that's convenient to connect, which on this board is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and inject my 4 volts directly into Samsung's VCC main, and I'm not going to clip the wire on. I'm just gonna touch it and see what I get, which is 3 amps immediately. So, all right. So now I know I've definitely got a short there, and you know, to confirm that, I can just take my multimeter and, yep, 0.000. So full short on VCC main. So now I'm going to go ahead and connect the wire, and then just feel around the board and see if I can feel something getting hot. So I'm consuming 1 volt at 3 amps, and I'm getting a little bit of heat that's over around this chip, and here's a big ugly looking guy right there. So that makes me wonder if he could be my problem. So let's go ahead and just find a good ground spot. Maybe this is ground. Let's see, is that ground? That is not ground. On the back side of that, there's a bunch of ground. That's why I clipped there. That is definitely ground, but that's not a good ground. So maybe I'll just do both sides of this cap. See if this cap is on the line that is shorted. Yes, it is. So just pop that guy off. All right. And let's see, is that still shorted? No, now I have 0.317318, which is about right for Samsung's VCC main. So now I will disconnect from here, connect back at the battery terminal. Ugh, that is an ugly joint, but it doesn't have to look pretty, just has to work. All right, so we'll connect this back up and prompt to boot. All right, so I'm pulling about 160 milliamps while I have the essentially the power button pressed, just sitting at 160 milliamps. And that goes back to 0 as soon as I let go. That's something that I have seen before when there is stuff like this. You know, the initial goal is to see if I can just get this phone to boot up. And if nobody had ever touched it before me, then I definitely, well, not definitely, but most likely clearing that short would have gotten this to boot up. That was most likely the original problem. But now the problem could either be bridging under the UFS chip, which is 2 layers, or bridging under the CPU, which is also 2 layers. So, you know, I don't really want to keep troubleshooting when I know that it's likely that this is the problem. So I'm just going to go ahead and go straight to pulling the chip off, which is going to make for a much less interesting conclusion, because really all you're going to see is me pull this chip off. I'm not going to sit here and reball it on stream, or, you know, start doing the the bit for bit dump of all of the information on the chip. So I guess you guys are just going to have to trust me that this is still going to be a success, even though there's so much previous technician fuckery. All right. There we go. All right, the chip is off. And now all I've got to do is just clean up that glue on it, reball it with 0.3 millimeter balls, and toss it into my reader and take a bit for bit dump of all the data on the chip. And then the user data partition will be mountable, and I can just go ahead and start pulling off all the data. So, you know, little anticlimactic. I wanted to have this boot up and show a Samsung logo, but looks like it's not going to happen. Oh my God, Jessa, the long screw damage from Dave. All right, before I go, I'll pull that up. I am definitely not going to work on that on stream. I've already put a couple of nights into this, and I've been recording it because it's such a unique piece that we have here. But here we go. This is what I was given to work with. So I started, you know, just repairing the traces I know that are necessary for image to work. This phone does boot, but it has no image. So here is our LCM enable. Here is LCM reset running over under these traces into the third line. Here is HIFA B-Sync there. I know that's necessary for touch. This little guy here, I'm not even sure what he is, but I know that that's where he's supposed to be connected. Same with this guy. These were both kind of, you know, it's not working, so let me just fix things that I can see are wrong. And then what I found through a lot of troubleshooting was that this line right here, which is one of the clock I2C clock lines, was open line right here. And it also runs over to this filter here, which was also open line. But then back on the other side of the board, this is also connected into that line, and I did get a reading there. So I tapped in here, ran a long jumper, but still I'm getting no image. I've tried replacing the connector, was like my last thing of, you know, maybe this will work, probably not. All of the diode mode readings on these pins are correct. Initially, after doing the trace repair, I booted it up and checked my voltages and found that I was missing 5.1 and 5.7. So I replaced, well, first I put these two 6-volt boost line caps back. They were missing. And then I replaced Chestnut, and that did bring back my 5.1 and 5.7. So, you know, I'm really kind of lost with this one right now, and I've put, oh God, so many hours into it that, you know, I'm done with it for now. This is gonna be revisited after the next class. All right, so let me just check chat. I sound 10 years younger. Maybe that's because I'm sick. By the way, Jessa, I am still sick. After course, I came home and I have not gotten better. It's just been miserable. All right. Let's see. Yeah, I want to see the clip called Mark Sees This LSD Job for the First Time. Yeah, I would love to have like a candid camera of me looking at this under the microscope the first time. I didn't even realize it was the one that David had worked on until it got here, or until I had already been working on it and just kind of gotten to the point where I needed to just buy some more time. So I sent the customer an update and noticed that, oh, wait, it's that one. That's why it looked familiar. All right, so let's see if there's anything else I need to answer in chat. I don't know. Maybe. Probably not. All right. You know, I have some other things staged here that I was planning on streaming on my channel, so we can get into another long screw damage. Might as well, right? So we'll get rid of this stuff for now. I'll reball that chip later. That's really boring. As if, he says, as if long screw damage is so exciting. But yeah, let's do some long screw damage. So here we go, iPhone 6. Got 1, 2, and oh, look at that. That hole's not damaged. Man, so lucky. Only 2 holes damaged this time. End this and make a new stream called LSD. We haven't done one for a while. All right, that sounds good. So S6 Edge Plus data recovery. I am 110% confident that this will be successful, but couldn't get the phone perfectly working because of previous technician fuckery. So please, guys, don't do stuff like that. Don't remove brackets that are completely unnecessary. In fact, don't even do board work on the phone if you don't know what you're doing. That was really a simple cap that needed to be removed, and that phone would have booted up just fine if no one had touched it before me. So on that note, I will see you guys back here in a few minutes.